Okay, let's see if I can record all of this with construction outside, the air on, and the cars outside, and also being harassed by a fly.
I don't give a shit!
Hello everyone, if you are new here, welcome. If you're a subscriber, welcome back. I'm Alyssa, I also go by Lyss or Alsira, either name is okay. This video will be different from before. About 2 years ago, I started reading not for academics, but for leisure because my brain needed it. As I was logging in the books I was reading, I started getting into the social media world of books. I'll link a few accounts below that got me into the book world. For this video, I'll be reviewing books that I've read that have pretty covers. Some of the books I've read in this cover may have a different cover than their original, so I will overlay it. Just because a book has a pretty cover doesn't mean it's the best book I've read. I will talk about what about the cover I like and what attracted me to it. I will summarize each book and list the bads and the goods. Don't let my opinion deter you from reading. I encourage individual opinions. This is not an echo chamber. There is the chance that your favorite author or favorite book may not be set in good taste. Our opinions may not match, and that's okay. Let's be respectful about that. I have a list of books, so this video will be part 1. We will look into possibly 5 or 6 books depending on how long this video will be, because I am not doing another video exceeding 30 minutes.
I am not doing that again! You can't make me!
If you'd like to see my rating, you can do so via my Goodreads, which will be linked in either my link tree or in my description. First on the list is Mexican Gothic by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. What first got to me about this book was a beautiful woman wearing a beautiful dress. You know, as a bisexual, I'm a bit inclined to see about a book that features a woman on it. Even more so when I see a woman of color. This cover right here, with this dark coloration and makeup and such, it does fit right in with the whole gothic nature. The woman doesn't look happy, she looks like she's in a state of distress, and the flowers she's holding don't quite look happy either. I believe they are marigolds, and flower symbolism hold a lot of different meanings. It depends on how you want to take it or how the book interprets it. My edition has an inner cover and features this. Now this really takes in the setting, like it gives a more horrified tone, very vintage. Now let's find out what this book is about. Published in 2020, we find ourselves in 1950s Mexico, where our protagonist Naomi received a letter from her cousin Catalina. In this letter, Catalina asks for help as she suspects her English husband Virgil is making her ill. Naomi's father Leocadio convinces Naomi to go over to Virgil's manor in El Triunfo. It's a fictional town, so no need to research. Now we're talking about the 1950s, the era of the nuclear family, and right before the start of the civil rights movement and feminist movement in the United States. I don't know what the exact social climate was in Mexico at that time. Upon research, women were allowed to vote in Mexico in the year of 1952. Naomi is a beautiful socialite, and she can date whoever she wants. She has no attachment to a man. Very brave in this era, if I do say so myself. And that's one of the things I liked about her. She subverts the trope of women in that era. She isn't submissive. She speaks her mind. Now she's on a mission to see about her cousin and possibly save her. We get to the mansion, and it is the most red flag place you've ever been to. On top of that, Virgil, Howard, Florence, members of the Doyle family, are like the weirdest, rudest white people you've ever met. First, you got the racism, then the misogyny, and then we get to the fetishization, which then leads to incest. Just to be clear, there are no incestual scenes.
The McBoyle bloodline's been pure and clean for 1,000 years. This marriage is an abomination.
Now, when you say pure and clean, you mean what exactly?
It means we haven't bred outside the bloodline.
For 1,000 years?
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
So right off the bat, what I love about this book is strong female protagonists in an era where that would be controversial, and very unlikable characters who get exactly what they deserve. Additionally, there's a slow burn romance that gets to a turning point in the book. There is another character I like, Francis. He's also a member of the Doyle family, but he's likable and he's like, he knows his family's up to some bullshit. He doesn't like support what his family is doing, but he's kind of like, he kind of has to go along with it because he has no other options. As I was reading, I'm starting to see some similarities to other great stories in the horror genre. This would be a great book for fans of Edgar Allan Poe's The Fall of the House of Usher, and for readers who really love the atmospheric part of horror. Also, there's mushrooms involved. I did feel there were moments that were a tad overwritten or overextended. Also, I remember myself asking, why doesn't Naomi just kidnap Catalina? I did love the change of pace, it was quite fitting. Also, this book does a great job making you feel uncomfortable about certain characters. Next up are 2 books by one author. When I read his debut novel, I devoured it and immediately bought the second book just after its release. I love these books so much, I even wrote about them in a critical part of my thesis. Did y'all know I graduated last month? Anyways, this author is Andrew Joseph White, and the 2 books I'll be talking about are Hell Followed With Us and The Spirit Bears His Teeth. First, his debut. When I first saw Hell Followed With Us, I was drawn to it because the cover resembled a tarot card for me. I don't know why, but it just gave out tarot card vibes. There are no tarot cards in this book, but there is a major religious aspect in this book. More importantly, when religious cults unleash their apocalypse. I mean, look at the eyes. It's the eyes, Chico. On them wings. We follow the story of Benji, a trans boy who escapes his church that just executed his father, and he finds himself in a center filled with queer teens. This center is Alsira's LGBTQ+ Center, or ALK for short. Here, Benji meets one of the founders, Nick, and Nick becomes his love interest. Also, Nick is autistic, so pops up for autism representation. Benji is holding a secret, and it's getting more difficult to hide. Not only did the church kill his father, but the church also injected Benji with a bioweapon to erase the rest of humanity. Together, Benji and Nick and the rest of their group fight back against the church, and while the bioweapon continues to turn him into the very angel we see on the cover, Benji takes back his power and avenge every single soul taken by the church. What I love about this book is how Benji's transformation into his monstrous angel is metaphorical of his gender dysphoria. And I love how the dystopian climate is being built in on religious extremism, especially here in the US of A, where it seems like the separation of church and state may be getting a little too close to each other. And remember, it was the church who wanted separation from the government. Some things I didn't like about this book, I'm non-binary, I don't see myself as trans, so I kept my birth name. So I don't speak for the entire trans community or non-binary community when I say this. But when I read Benji's dead name, I felt iffy about it. Maybe this was something the author thought to keep in. Again, I'm not barking at him over this. It's his book, let him do what he wants. I just wish it was written as quote-unquote redacted. Also, the inclusivity of the cast, mainly queer teens at the ALK. It felt a bit like tokenism, it may not be the right word to say, but I almost felt like every character was they were side characters and there to help to advance Benji's character. We have a Muslim side character who's queer. I don't know where this was in the book. I'm blanking out on the page, but I think I remember Benji making a comment on how she can be queer when her religion doesn't allow for that. And I was just hoping that someone told Benji that the Quran has nothing against the LGBTQ+ community. I'm a former Muslim, and through my studies on the Quran, I can tell you that the Quran doesn't really speak much on homosexuality. Still on Andrew Joseph White's bibliography, we have his next book, The Spirit Bears His Teeth. This one I loved even more because now we have an autistic main character by the name of Silas Bell. Here we're going back in time to the late 1880s, years before the word autism was ever coined. I can imagine how difficult it would be to describe autism without saying it's autism. The cover, again, we are following the motif of the eyes. This time the eyes are more distinguished, we see side profiles, and they look like anatomy sketches, which makes sense as our MC Silas has experience with surgery. Also, this cover is mostly in purple, one of my favorite colors. Summary. 1880s, London. The Speaker Society seeks people with violet eyes and treats them lower than you would a normal person. Silas has violet eyes, same as Hal followed with us. Silas is a trans boy, but for the majority of this book, he's forced to wear dresses and corsets, and he's mostly referred to by his dead name, which I will not say. As with this book, the stereotypes and treatment of women, especially girls, are 10 times worse. Of course, it's historical fiction. Even in actual history, women and girls have always been treated worse as opposed to their male counterparts. Add on being a person of color, disabilities, it gets worse. This book does not shy away from how girls are mistreated, and Silas tries to get away from an arranged marriage. That doesn't work, and he is sent to an asylum for girls. This is where I got the Girl Interrupted vibes. I watched a few clips of the movie and have the book on my shelf. Hopefully I will get to that book, and that may become a video of its own later in the year. At this asylum, one of the first things Silas sees is a girl who may be pregnant about to be thrown off the stairwell by another girl. It is crazy in this house. There's a headmaster, an old man who believes he knows all about girls, and he immediately emasculates Silas by forcibly kissing him. Also, at this asylum, there's a mystery about girls disappearing, and Silas can hear things, voices behind the walls. He discovers that these are the voices of dead girls, and their souls have not yet ascended. This is where I got some Coraline vibes. I'm going to stop right there with the summary because there's so much going on with this book. What I liked about this book is the historical accuracy of hysteria and mistreatment of girls and women in this era. There's also the structure of this book. There are black pages that are unnumbered and the writing is lowercase. I love how this book presents the main character in a more heroic way than Hell Follow With Us. And also the autism representation and an autistic main character. Finally! An autistic person who isn't infantilized or made into an arrogant geek. What I didn't like was the dead naming, of course, and this is a bit spoilery, but I will work my way around this. I feel like the time spent with Silas dealing with the betrayal of a loved one was cut a little too short or glossed over. Maybe it was the pacing, maybe my brain didn't absorb it as much as it should, who knows. Now carrying on with books with pretty purple covers, my next book that I read with a pretty cover is something near and dear to my heart. Depending on when this video will be uploaded next month, this book will turn 2 years old. Unlike the rest of the books in this video, this one is a poetry book. If you have been paying attention to my channel and what I do outside of my channel, then you'll know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Kaleidoscope, my first book that is self-published. This is my channel, and this is a video about books with pretty covers. You had to know that was coming. I wrote and published this book back in 2022, and it's available through Amazon, Blurb, and Barnes & Noble. You may find these links in my link tree down below in the description and on my channel. On my channel, you will find a playlist of all the readings and visuals I've done on this project, as well as a video talking about this book. I already have a video where I talk about this book, so I'm going to keep it short and simple. This is one of my favorite covers I've designed. The purple theme really comes through, and I love the star sign kaleidoscope I've done, where I just drew over the star signs and copy-pasted a few times and manipulated these copies. No AI involved in this one, and never will. I do have some favorite poems in this collection. I mean, I love all my poems, but the one I love most were Where the Lost Live, Via Denial, Symphony of the Metal Ballad, The Day God Died, Gemini Eclipse. As I said in the video concerning this book, the one thing I wish I did was give myself more time and not feel so rushed to publishing my very first book. Again, check it out on my link tree and stay tuned for November when my next book comes out. Okay, back to books with pretty covers that I did not write. The next two books in this video are both graphic novels. The first of which is book 1 in the series. This book is She Eats the Night, book 1 of The Night Eater, written and drawn by Marjorie Liu and Sana Takeda. I read this book for a class I took in my grad school, and I truly fell in love with the cover and the illustration. It's so vicious, it's so gruesome, it's so beautiful. Like I said earlier, if I see a book with a woman on the cover, especially a woman of color, most likely I'm going to pick it up. It's beautifully grotesque cover of flora and blood, with a woman wearing a flower smoking a cigarette. In this book, we learn about this Chinese-American family renovating the house across from the street. We have twins, Billy and Millie, being the siblings that they are, arguing. We are in Rego Park, Queens. This is the second graphic novel I read that features or was set in Rego Park.
Eyes are getting weary. My back is getting tight.
The first being Mouse by Art Spiegelman. The twins were very skeptical about walking to this abandoned house since there's trees and plants overgrown or wildlife going on, and I believe they are attacked by a spirit, which is quickly dispelled by their mother. Through their father, the twins learn that their mother used to defeat spirits and demons, and now they have that power. It's a fun book, y'all gotta read it. What I love are the illustrations and the flip-flops between timelines. What I didn't like was how drawn out this book felt. This book was going through the background of the family, and the next book will be the twins learning how to control these powers. I don't have much criticism on this book, so this part feels empty, awkward, unbalanced. The final book in this video is Mooncakes by Suzanne Walker and Wendy Xu. When I saw this cover, I couldn't help but think just how cute this cover was. They got cats, they got someone with blue hair and pronouns, such a soft palette. Surely this book wouldn't be so dark, right? We see Nova Huang, a witch in training working with her grandmother and her grandmother's partner. Nova is deaf and requires the use of a hearing aid. She has 3 black cats. One night, she follows the story of a white wolf in the woods and finds the white wolf fighting with some sort of horse demon. After she saves the white wolf, she discovers that the white wolf is nothing other than her childhood crush, Tam Lang, who has blue hair and uses they/them pronouns. As Nova introduces Tam to her family, we find out there's someone trying to harness werewolf energy, and Tam is the target. What I love about this book is the inclusivity of elements such as hard of hearing main character, gender non-conforming characters, the easy flow of magical elements and world building, the representation of same-sex couples even in their old age, and the illustrations, of course. And I trust these 3 kitties with my life. What I didn't like, not much about it. I did have some questions about Nova's dead parents appearing as ghosts and visiting her on occasion. Like, I would like some info on how that works. That is all the books I have in this video. Actually, I do have more books, so a part 2 is definitely coming up. I hope you all enjoyed this. If you'd like to see more of my content, please subscribe to my channel and other platforms. I also have a Substack, and I'm hoping to get some paid subscriptions on there, so you can join there and see some of my upcoming snippets. I also have a Discord server, which I also share snippets on and of my work. And I also have a Ko-Fi, so you can commission me through there or just donate. Please buy my debut poetry collection, Kaleidoscope, through Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Blurb. Keep an eye out for next month or August. I have something in the works. Again, thank you all for reaching this far, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Please hydrate, be safe, goodbye.